Hey guys, Rai here. We've been wanting to go to Japan for a few years now, but COVID stopped the plans we had made before. Luckily, we were finally able to make it out there this spring, so watch as we give it a try. We took an evening flight and flew into LAX to try the new airline flying out of their international terminal. We stayed overnight in the terminal so we didn't have to deal with morning traffic, and so we could start adjusting ourselves to Tokyo time by staying up all night. We didn't realize that the airline only allowed check-in 3 hours before the flight, so we did end up having to stay in the pre-security area. It was a long, somewhat chilly night, but it was just fine. The next day, we checked in our luggage and went to the gate. I already did a full-length video on our flight experience, so click on the link to check that out. But long story short, we slept on the first half of the flight, landed mid-afternoon, and made our way into Tokyo proper. The transit system in Tokyo is honestly pretty easy to navigate. Everything is either written in both Japanese and English, or digital things usually have an English option. We also utilized Google Lens really heavily on the trip, since it can do live translation of most languages. We did pay for data on our phone plan for the trip, but you can also get pocket Wi-Fi at the airport or throughout the city. But since Google Lens lets you download languages, it didn't end up taking much signal to use. We decided to stay at the Ueno Centurion Hotel. It was really nice and well decorated in the lobby. We got a room with a king-size bed that basically took up the whole room. Things in Tokyo were very small, including hotels and beds. The shower was small too, but we really enjoyed having a bidet, and it all felt clean and well taken care of, even if it was tiny. There was a convenience store right outside the hotel, so we grabbed a quick dinner to end the night. Our first real day in Tokyo started at a cute little cafe nearby for a somewhat more American-style breakfast. Overall, I think I miss US breakfasts the most in Tokyo, since it seems like they mostly have just coffee and maybe soup or leftovers for breakfast. But this cafe was really tasty. This hot chocolate was so good. It was a cold and rainy day, but we were completely fine since we always pack an over-prepared day pack for big trips. We had umbrellas and windbreakers, and we prefer overcast weather, so it was a great start to the trip. We headed to Tokyo Beach first. It was a beautiful, quiet day. There were these small jumping fish feeding in the rain, which were really fun to see. It had apparently been a very wet spring, so we were there at the end of cherry blossom season. There were still cherry blossoms around, but not the overwhelming number that are found during the perfect part of the season. But overall, it was a beautiful, quiet day. We then headed toward the High Shrine. We wanted to get lunch before the shrine and ended up stopping at this cute little shop first. The handmade items were all so beautiful. Things in Tokyo were so cheap with the exchange rate, and I ended up getting a small glass turtle to add to my collection. We ate at an Indian restaurant nearby. It was very authentic and everything was delicious. This butter chicken was the best Indian food I've ever had. The shrine was beautiful. It was so well preserved and cared for, and was still being actively used even while being a tourist destination. It was nice that we didn't have to fight against large crowds due to the weather, even though it was the weekend. We got to experience all of the beauty of this location, even in the middle of the city, which is just so wild to me that all of Tokyo is like this. The rain did start to come down heavier, so we headed back to the hotel and grabbed a convenience store dinner again. The next day we had some time in the morning, so we visited the nearby Ueno Park, where the Cherry Blossom Festival was wrapping up. It was a gorgeous day and we ate our convenience store breakfast in the park. There were still plenty of cherry blossoms, and there were lots of performers in the main square. It was a fun way to spend the morning. We then headed back to the hotel to check out and take a train out to the Disney Resort for a few days. We stayed at the Toy Story Hotel and spent a day in each of the parks. The resort was so fun and did surprisingly well at capturing the same Disney magic as the US parks. Click this link to watch my detailed video on our time at the Tokyo Disney Resort. When we were done at the resort, we headed back into Tokyo for the rest of our trip. We checked into the same hotel as before, and our room was just one floor lower. We met up with our group and headed to Team Lab Planets, which is a sensory art experience that is unlike anything I've ever done. You start by wearing shorts and going barefoot. You walk up an incline of water, passing a waterfall. Then you go through a dark room with large squishy beanbags that are difficult to walk over. At that point, you're much more in touch with your body, so the sensory art begins. There's a room covered in mirrors and filled with light strands, and there's beautiful music with a continuous light show. The walkway is hidden in the light strands, with the strands coming down to just above your head to keep you immersed. After that, there's a large room with knee-high water that has a reactive projection of a koi pond, so the fish all move around you and flowers float on the digital surface. It was dark, so my camera didn't do great capturing this experience, but it was very cool. Then there was a room filled with light spheres as tall as people that changed colors when touched or moved. The room was supposed to represent the old silk clothing that was so thin that new colors were created with overlapping fabrics. After that was another mirrored room with a floral universe projection. You were meant to sit or lay on the floor and feel like you were floating with the flowers as part of the universal consciousness. And the final room was a hanging garden full of orchids. Orchids evolved to live off of water particles in the air and do not require soil to grow. The hanging plants raised and lowered throughout the exhibit, so you're meant to experience being in the same space as the flowers, becoming one space together, and then embodying the Zen principles of being the same root and substance. Overall, this exhibit was incredible and was a beautiful multi-sensory experience. I would recommend this to anyone that can go. We ended the long day trying some convenience store sushi that was really tasty. The next day we took our breakfast to go and ate outside the Sensoji temple. This place was packed. It was beautiful architecture and scenery, and it was crazy how it was just right in the middle of normal streets. However, with all the people visiting all the shops, it felt very much like a street market. We tried these yummy candied strawberries, which were delicious. Then we also tried these red bean rice treats, which were just okay for me. After that, we headed to Skytree. This is a huge shopping center attached to the tallest building in Tokyo. We went to the Kirby Cafe and had a yummy lunch. I had a hot chocolate that you could choose the decoration on top, which is incredibly detailed, along with this super cheesy pizza that came with the honey drizzle. And my husband got this cute lunchbox with a rice and meat bowl inside. And then we shared some delicious desserts, a shortcake filled with cream and fruit, and this drinkable jello parfait that was also really good. Then it was time to walk around and shop a little bit. I wanted to do mystery bags for my primary souvenirs for the trip, so we first stopped off at the Kirby gift shop, and I got this cute little Kirby chef charm. We went to the little Pokemon store, and I got a few of my favorite characters as plushes, although they didn't have Squirtle, so I was a little bummed. I got a mystery Pokeball that had a Gengar inside of it. And then we headed to the Harry Potter pop-up shop. This had so much merchandise in all of the different houses, and with some funny things mixed in from other properties as well. They had clothes and bags and stationery and all of these other different things. Hand towels for the bathrooms. I did 2 mystery pulls from here. One was a pin, and I got a Birdie Bots every flavor beans. And then I also got a little Tina from Fantastic Beasts. We went to the Studio Ghibli store, which was surprisingly huge. There was so much merchandise for all the different movies. Shopping is a huge thing in Japanese culture, and it's not my favorite pastime, but it was fun to do it at all of these shops that would be considered niche novelties in the US. I did 2 mystery boxes at this shop as well, and I got a little cat bus and Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle. After that, we headed up to the Skytree. It was wild to see the cars and people down below. I got this cool shot of the polarization in my sunglasses, revealing the pattern in the glass windows. This was the highest building I've ever been in, and it was a surreal experience to see the whole city from up there. I never realized how big Tokyo is, and how much is crammed in such a small area. After that, we headed to the art aquarium. This is an exhibit that showcases different goldfish in art exhibits with multicolored lights. It was amazing to see all the different species of goldfish and to see the beautiful exhibits, both large and small. We then headed to a conveyor belt sushi restaurant in Ueno. This was so fun. It was a novel way to eat sushi for us, and everything was so fresh and delicious. We tried so many different things. I especially loved that they had so many shrimp options, since shellfish is my favorite. On Friday, we went to the same cafe as before and tried a few other things, and then we headed out to the Ueno Zoo. It was a big item on my bucket list so I could see the pandas, since they're one of my favorite animals, but really, I love most animals. We walked through the exhibits along the path to the pandas and then got in line. Luckily, it wasn't too busy, so it was only a 30-minute wait to see the babies. Unfortunately, they were sleeping when we went through, but the one we could see was so cute. The adult pandas were also very cute. One of them was being really active and roaming around the outdoor enclosure. It was so fun to see them. We did swing by them a second time at the end of our day there as well, and it seemed like they were waiting for their doors to open to go to their hidden enclosures and get dinner. The baby pandas were also more active in the afternoon, so we took some pictures as we walked by. The pandas were definitely the best taken care of animals in the zoo. The polar bears were some of the happier ones I've seen, and the red pandas were also happy, but it seemed like everything else was at a lower level of care. Still fine, but not as good as the pandas. But this isn't very surprising since the entry fee is so low to go in. I had a blast seeing the pandas, and I would absolutely recommend that anyone go to do this if they can. After the zoo, we headed to a barbecue. This was such a fun experience. We selected the meal type based on how many options we wanted, and then we just ordered whatever we wanted on the tablet. Everything was really tasty. It did get a bit warm with the hot coals right there on the table, but we had a great time. I especially liked the pineapple and the steak. And the Wagyu, which we ordered special, was so good. The next day we headed out to do some experiences that were more spread out around the city. We started at the Imperial Palace and walked around the grounds and the gardens. It was a rainy day, so we didn't have time to see everything, but everything we saw was really beautiful. There were so many informative plaques and information cards around the whole palace complex, as well as an app you could download to give yourself a personal tour of the place. The public restrooms were so interesting since they had both modern toilets, although no bidets, and older toilets in the ground. It was so serene and peaceful, even in the middle of the city. I loved seeing the cherry blossoms in such a peaceful garden with all of the lakes and ponds around. The koi were really active with the rain, and it was pretty empty on the grounds from the rain, so it felt like we had a lot of the place to ourselves. Overall, the entire gardens were just really beautiful and well maintained. You could tell that the people who worked there took great pride in making it look beautiful for everyone to visit. And it was so cool to see such long-lasting history with these tall walls made of these huge rocks all over the place. After the palace, we went to a Disney store, which had so many fun things in so many different styles. Then we took the train out to the outskirts of Tokyo, to Setagaya City, to a Totoro cafe. This cute little cafe is in a neighborhood and sells cream puffs shaped like Totoro. We tried the strawberry cream puffs and they were so tasty. The experience was really fun, especially since the rain added to the Totoro ambiance. For dinner that evening, we went to a small sushi restaurant and had food prepared directly in front of us by the chef. The food was delicious, and we enjoyed getting to speak with the chef during our meal. And for our last real day in Tokyo, we did the last few things on our list. First, we headed to Tokyo Station to take in the architecture on a very pretty day. Then we went to the shops and went down to the character row for all of the themed shops. I got a few more mystery bags from the Disney shop, Studio Ghibli shop, and the Harry Potter shop. Then we headed out to Shibuya to explore some shops and see Shibuya Crossing at night. We passed by this adorable Disney shop that was built like a castle. It was so cute. We did a few more mystery bags at the Pokemon and Nintendo stores. And then on the way back, we saw the Disney shop again. It was lit up at night, and the back of it had a stained glass window from Beauty and the Beast. It was so pretty. Experiencing the city at night was pretty crazy. It was very packed and very loud and very busy. And we ended the night with one last convenience store dinner. On the morning we were going to leave, we made sure to stop by a convenience store for lots of Japanese snacks and treats to bring home. Then we packed up and took the train out to Narita Airport to begin our journey. This ended up being the longest Monday of my life, since we didn't board the plane until 2:30 that afternoon. Flew to LAX for 12 hours, where we arrived at 8 a.m. and waited another 12 hours until boarding our plane home at 8 p.m. that same Monday due to the time difference. We didn't get home until about 11 that night, and it took us a few days to recover, but this trip was amazing. We had so much fun, and we were so busy, and saw so many things. It's impossible to put them all in one video, but I hope you enjoyed seeing what you did. Let me know if you want another video following up on something that I skipped over a little fast. Thanks for watching us give Tokyo a try.